stream yet. Okay, add to stream. Hello, hello. Here I am. All right. It is my great pleasure to be streaming again. We've got hey tech stuff. How's it going? So I've got TikTok over here on the side. You can kind of see the phone up here. And I'm live streaming this morning because the grant portal for the $40,000 ADU grant is supposed to reopen this morning. That's an official announcement on CalHFA's website. Having said that, I think that the amount of grants that they're giving out is supposed to be very modest. I've heard 100 grants or fewer. And so I kind of expect this to be open and shut very quickly. But if I can help in any way by being online and answering questions while we're up here, then I thought I would. There's a few people watching. If somebody could post a comment just so I make sure that my StreamYard setup is working properly, and that the comments are coming through here too, not just on the YouTube channel, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Hear myself. That's weird. Okay. So I see people posting messages on YouTube. Oh, good. The messages are coming through. That's great. Okay, well, welcome from Valley Center. And hey, Ken, nice to see you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on TikTok and the YouTube channel. Question coming in from the TikTok. Hey, Tony. Hey, guys. What website do we apply for grants? So the two websites I've seen with updated messages are Sacita and HPP Cares. If you're on the YouTube stream, I will have a lot more detail and like literal links there. TikTok doesn't really let me do that. So hop over to the YouTube, figure it out, how to ADU, if you're actually trying to apply this morning. It's only going to be open for like a hot second is what I understand. Hey, Glow. Hey, Juan Carlos. Hey, Ken, Christina, Sophia. Thank you. Is there a portal that I need to sign up for, or is it just going to be on the CalHFA website? You need to go in through a portal. It is not going to be on the CalHFA website. And so right now, I'll just show the CalHFA website. How about that? I thought I would. Let me see. Present screen. A Chrome tab, a window. Yeah, let's do a window. All right, I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see what I see. Okay. So you should be able to see my window now. And this is what the Sacita website looks like, right? So it has this update that says CalHFA will be reopening for grant reservations on March 1st at 9 a.m. in 7 minutes. This is the HPP Cares website that says per CalHFA, portal submissions have been paused. But if you sign up for updates, I don't know where the link is anymore because I've already signed up. But if you sign up for updates, then actually it shows you this other message. Let me pull that up. Shows, come on. All right. I don't have it on this computer, but it shows another message that says, hey, it's pretty confusing if I'm honest. I don't really understand what it means. It's on my phone and I can't take down the TikTok. All right, Nora Flores, how often do they open these applications? They open them, it should be pretty infrequently, but it's been a real roller coaster. It's highly unpredictable. I don't know how to answer the question. What are the odds the site crashes, Tony? Very high. I bet that even if the sites don't crash, I think the chances that you get in as the first 100 are very low. So like I wouldn't place a bet on me getting one, for example, if I was going to join, even if the odds were like 100 to 1. But still free to try if you happen to be at a computer. So there's more questions coming in on TikTok. Are the grants still only for primary residents? Yes, they are still. You have to be the way to phrase that is the homeowner has to be the applicant. Somebody on the deed has to be the applicant. All right, questions in the YouTube channel. Come visit San Diego. I'm going to come to San Diego on March 17th for the ADU Academy, which is the coolest ADU event I've ever been to. I went to it up in Portland. It was awesome. If you're a professional, it's a great event. It's not really for homeowners, for normal people. But if you're thinking about being an ADU professional or a realtor who's going to want to just be fluent in ADUs, or an appraiser or a lender, you should definitely check out the ADU Academy in San Diego. And there's actually a link in my, here, I'll post it in here. I'm going to use the TikTok link because it's the one I have memorized, but this is my kind of like link tree. I made my own. So if you go to howtoadu.com/TikTok, or then there's a bunch of different like promotional links. Oh, Nael, you got it. You got to go and use my code. It's how to ADU SD, and you save some money on your ticket, and I get a little something. So gotta gets me in for free if I get a few people to come. Yeah. Do we have a link for the application, Camden? That's the question of the hour. No, we don't. So as soon as somebody knows about the link for any of the websites, please post it in the chat. That was the best thing we did in the group last time, is just like some of us got a notification and others didn't. And so whoever gets it first, share it. It's a little, if you're selfish, you might want to just do your application first. I get it. But if you already applied and you're just hanging out, it will help somebody if you share it. Does the Seceda, okay, here's another question. Does the Seceda site have to accept forms before I can apply? I don't know. I don't know. Nobody has published any of the requirements. This has been really confusing, which is why I'm online, just to kind of walk people through. I'm not really sure. Sorry. We'll piece through it together, though. Make sure I've got no questions on the TikTok coming in. On TikTok, we're doing a live stream on YouTube where there's like a lot more links and like user-friendly interface for this $40,000 ADU grant. So you might want to check out the YouTube channel, but you're free to hang out with me on TikTok if you're just hanging out. Okay, Christina, you're a realtor too. Look, everybody, all these San Diego realtors. Let me take a second and actually put the link up. So it's you go to howtoadu.com/TikTok. And you see save $25 on ADU Academy. You go there. You got all the information you need about the ADU Academy. And it's a really cool event. It's a one-day workshop. You get to pick whether you're going to sit in the design workshop, the real estate workshop. Then you have a big lunch, which is my favorite part. Not just because I'm eating, because I get to meet everybody. Then you have a workshop about construction and a workshop about financing and appraisal. And you get to pick, right? And it's just really cool. Then there's breakout groups, kind of an afternoon session, a social hour. I'm going to be doing an after party because that's what I like to do. And when you're registering, you just go down here and where it says additional discounts, you pick how to ADU and you type how to ADU SD. And that is your coupon code to get a little money off. I also have a group discount if you're bringing like team members. But totally do that. It's totally worth it. My favorite event. I'll be there. Will I come to Oak Glen? Let me. This is embarrassing. Where is Oak Glen, California? San Bernardino. Nice. Yeah, I'll come out. I'll come anywhere. There's a bunch of people actually in the chat. Ken Powell's out in Riverside of the Inland Empire too. So there's a lot of you down there. And so eventually I'll make it my way everywhere. But to be truthful, I'm not super helpful. I'm not like the most useful person in the world to visit your property. Okay, it's almost 9 a.m. So I'm just gonna minimize my face and we're gonna actually just refresh these websites until something happens. Because that's what we're here for. We're here for the grant. If property is in a living trust, can I still apply for California ADU grant? I don't know. You should ask the entity. And given the brevity of the portal opening today, I doubt you'll have time to get an answer and apply. Sorry. But maybe in a future iteration of the grant. So start researching now so that when the grant gets funded again, you'll have a chance. You'll know. Yeah, so I'm hitting refresh, nothing's happening. It's 9 a.m., nothing's happening. Anybody else have luck? Anybody else getting like an email or a message about the portal reopening? I'm gonna check my emails. HFA. Check my test emails real fast. HFA. Sorry, I'm doing this off screen because I don't want you guys to see all of my emails. Oh, okay, this is a good one. Make sure you can see my screen. Yeah, okay. So this email, ignore the fact that I have like a million unread messages. I know that drives some people insane. So this email says from Cecita that Cal HFA will open up and allow a modest number of new grant reservations. And this one says upload all required documents and make any corrections to your EDU grant application by next Monday at 8 a.m. So here they're saying they're going to start with the applications that have already been in. So it's kind of like already too late for Cecita, which is great that they publish that information. So we don't have to keep hitting refresh. I did not see that before. All right, closing Cecita. It might be the fact that HPP Cares is also doing that, and I just haven't gotten the email. Okay, next question. Nail, I'm building an ADU and junior ADU attached. I apply also for the grant. Do you think they will approve 2 units as one grant? That's not how it works. You can get the grant and apply it to the ADU pre-construction costs. So you're fine. You can do multiple things at the same time, but the grant can only be applied to the pre-construction costs on the ADU. And so you have to have itemized costs for the ADU and the other stuff separate a lot of the time. And then you would get the grant applied to it. Yeah. Cool. Hey, Ken. Yeah, I'm happy to shout everybody out who's in the chat. It's awesome that you guys are in this morning. How is the state? Okay, I've got some questions on TikTok, so I'm going to flip over here and kind of look at those TikTok questions. If in LA have residential non-conforming and want ADU in the front, but companies don't want to work with us, I don't know why companies don't want to work with you, Emma. That sounds like a deeper issue. Now, you have residential non-conforming and want ADU in front? Yeah. So the new laws that went into effect in January are pretty specific. That if the existing non-conforming stuff doesn't pose a health and safety threat, that the city should issue ADU permits regardless of, they should issue ADU permits without requiring you to fix the existing non-conforming issues in the other structures. But whether they actually implement those new regulations or not is always touch and go. So you got to show them the new law and see. But not being able to find professionals is like a whole other problem. We should probably have a conversation about that. Depends. I don't know if you're talking to the right professionals, or maybe you've got some qualifications about the job that are red flags for those professionals, and the vendors are just like, I get to pick my jobs. I want to pick the jobs that I want to work on, and something you're doing might be putting them off, which we can talk about and troubleshoot. How is the state going to ensure that the ADUs are actually built? Oh, Tony, that is a $40 million or $40,000 question, $100 million question. So the state has, the way it works is the legislators pass funding, and they give that funding to Cal HFA, which is a state agency. And it says, hey, Cal HFA, please use this money to encourage the construction of ADUs and help people complete projects who wouldn't be able to complete projects, or whatever qualifications they give. Then Cal HFA says, okay, we're going to do that by going to our network of lenders and special entities that help homeowners anyway, and have the kind of structure to do this. And so those lenders then underwrite the projects and create fund accounts and stuff. And then the nonprofits that really opened up the subscription on the program, they do it with a controlled escrow account. In theory, if you do not complete the project, some entities will not let you have all the control funds until you complete the project. Some entities will have a provision to claw it back or keep 40,000 or something. There's always a way to do that. But I don't actually know what kind of agreement exists between CalHFA and each of those entities. So it's kind of complicated. How is the state going to ensure that ADUs are actually built? The legislators rely on CalHFA to come up with a good program, and CalHFA's program relies on these entities to make sure that the programs actually get built. And a channel like this one, if money gets distributed and ADUs do not get built, I'll know eventually, and we'll report on that, and we'll adjust the program and improve it so that more and more ADUs are successfully built with the $40,000. Having said that, $40,000 is a drop in the bucket to the state. To build an affordable housing unit, the state's usually willing to spend like $500,000 per unit, or more. Sometimes these units in California cost like $750,000 to build a door, to build a unit, one independent unit. And so $40,000, if 10% of the grants didn't actually result in an ADU, it would still be one of the cheapest ways to catalyze housing I've ever heard of in California. So that's kind of the shtick, Tony. Emma, because they want to add ADs in the back. Yeah. Well, the new laws are really specific. The old laws were pretty specific, but the new laws are very explicit that you can do a statewide exemption ADU and ignore front setback. So you could do them in the front, but they're not always nice in the front. so it depends on your lot, and you gotta find a professional who wants to work on the project is the advice there. Okay, Robert Anthony asks the question that we're all here for: how do I apply online for the grants? I think that what I'm getting here from the Seceda email is you actually need to already be in their pipeline. But what this means is every now and then the grant portal reopens, and if you aren't already in the pipeline, then you're gonna get even farther back in line. So go to the Seceda website, which link in the video description below, and start applying. Sorry, I'm laughing because Tony in TikTok chat just sounds like the Spider-Man pointing meme, which is totally true. That is a bit how housing works in California. Everybody's just expecting somebody else to do it. So yeah, to apply for the grant, pick your entity, whether it's Seceda or HPP Cares, and then let's refresh HPP Cares real fast and just see what they allow. Yeah. HPP Cares is still giving me the same message. It's 9:08. Although last time it opened at a crazy time, right? Has anybody else gotten a link or an email or anything? Has anybody else? Hey, Zach. Yes, Yimby just joined the TikTok chat. How's it going? We're live streaming because the county's or the state's ADU grant reopened the portal for a hot second, and we're just trying to figure out if there's actually a way for people to apply for this grant. All right. Can grants be given once the ADU project is started? Yeah. So Stephanie, a lot of the grants have been awarded to people who are already underway. And some of the entities like HPP Cares had really specific advice about what to do if you're already underway. All of that documentation might be outdated, but because it was from last year, but it's in the video description below this stream. It's a digital download file with details about the grant process with HPP Cares. And you can kind of get all that advice there. Sluggish, I'm doing mine in the front, and you're also subject to the zoning. Looks like the rest of the houses in the area. For example, my ADU has to have a porch, patio, and front steps. Yeah. So the way that works is cities can impose any kind of objective design standards they want, as long as those standards would not preclude the construction of an ADU up to 800 square feet, 16 foot high, or the other height limits now, and 4 foot side and rear yard setback. So if they want, they can require a big front patio. However, if that big front patio would preclude the construction of an 800 square foot ADU, then that requirement becomes unenforceable by state statute. In your specific case, you always have to talk to a lawyer, figure out, what your recourse is. but it's true that they can enforce objective design standards as long as they wouldn't preclude the construction of an 800 square foot ADU. Chad Values asks, it appears we need to get construction loan from the PDFs that are available online. So that used to be true, but 2 entities do allow you to get the grant without a construction loan now. They allow you to do it with cash or bring your own financing to the table. But having said that, the grant portal is kind of paused, which is why we're all here. Yeah, I know, Chad. That PDF is from really early in the process. So the funding originally got approved in September 2021, I think, whenever I did my first video about this. Oh, we were so young. And let's hold on a second. So when it first launched, you had to get a construction loan, and there was literally only one approved lender, which was crazy. It was nuts. But eventually, they added more lenders, and then they increased the grant amount from 25 to 40,000, and they increased the income eligibility max, like they loosened the restriction on income eligibility, and then they added a couple nonprofit entities that could do the grant without a construction loan. So if you're like in the city of San Diego, I think San Diego is one, for example, there like certain cities, Pasadena, certain cities do grant programs or loan programs. If you're getting that loan, you can also get the grant through that loan. You don't need to get another construction loan through one of the pre-approved lenders. Or if you go to HPP Cares or Seceda, then you can apply for the grant without going through their lenders. You could bring your own cash to the project. There's still some limitations. Like I saw a lot of people with really nice HELOCs, but the HELOCs were like 7% interest. And one of the first steps on the grant process is that you got to put all of your budget into this controlled escrow account if you're going through HPP Cares or Seceda. And so they had big budgets. Like they had just reported honestly, like, oh, we're going to spend $400,000 on this ADU, which happens. And as a result, one of the first steps was like, okay, draw all 400,000 out of your HELOC account and put it in this escrow account, which is crazy because then they're paying 7% interest on the entire $400,000. Whereas if they leave it in their HELOC and only draw when they need it throughout the construction process, they're only paying interest on a little bit at the beginning of the construction, and they're only paying interest on the whole amount when they get to the end of construction. So they mathed it out and they realized, oh, hold on, I'm losing money by taking the entire HELOC out today and putting it in this account. I should give back the grant because I don't, to get 40,000 minus the fees, minus the taxes, to get 25K, 27K, something like that. I'm going to be paying way more than that in HELOC payments. So they went out. And because people back out like that, that is why the grant portal opens temporarily on days like today to reassign 100 grants. Because like maybe 100 people have said, oh, actually, I don't want to do this now that I understand the details. So that's kind of how we find ourselves in this here situation. All right. Anybody who's joined the TikTok, if you just want to hang out, then we're hanging out. But if you want to actually see more of the links and stuff that I'm talking about, see my screen, we're doing a live stream on YouTube that's a lot more detailed and user friendly. But please do hang out, ask questions. I'm still answering them. Susan asks, do you have a contractor and plans? Do you have to have a contractor and plans complete prior to receiving the grant? I received the same email from Seceda. Yeah. So Susan, you do not need a contractor and plans complete to receive a grant necessarily, but some of the entities do require it. So CalHFA has its requirements, and then each entity has its own requirements. CalHFA does not require you to already have a contractor and plans complete to get the grant. And as a matter of fact, it kind of is not a catch-22, but it's like a time travel problem, a chicken and egg problem. That's what they're called, because the grant is supposed to go toward pre-construction costs like plans. but some of the entities are like, well, we want you to have plans and a budget before we apply for the grant. So how do you pay for the plans in the past? If you, but no, it is not a requirement of CalHFA that you have a contractor and plans. A lot of the entities do want you to have a scope of work, a budget, and some rough drawings, but it just varies by entity, from what I can tell. So basically, we need to put our money into the ADU pool, so to speak. Exactly, Chad. Yeah, that's why it's such a cheap program, because the state's giving you $40K, of which some comes out as fees for the administration or for the loan origination, and then some comes out for the fund control, and then some you pay taxes on it, because you pay taxes on a $40,000 windfall, right? And then you then pay for the rest of the ADU. And that's why the state's willing to put up $40,000 to help you bridge the financing, to help you get that little extra step that might incentivize you to actually do the project, despite the way costs keep going up. Pamela, thank you for that update. That's really helpful. So Pamela's telling us, I called and was told that my application has been submitted, but today they have 800 people on the waiting list, and I will have to wait until it reopens. So that means that's, your update is as good as any. So you called, and if that's what they said, did you call HPP Cares or CECITA or another entity? Did you tell us, Pamela, in the chat? Yeah, Susan. No, I hear you. I'd say we are all confused, which is why I hop in and do these lives, right? Like, people are just so unsure sometimes that, just checking anything is helpful. All right, here's what I'll say. There are a couple things that you can do to ask your legislators to fund these grants again. So I'm going to put in the chat, and there's already in the description below the video, there's some links to some like sign-on letters and petitions that you can do. I personally, I still haven't found a way to read the HPP Cares letter that they're asking us to sign in that first link, but this second link, this second link at the Action Network, that actually is by the Casita Coalition. It's a professional group. It's a really well-written letter. So that's the one I signed. I highly encourage people to go out and sign one of these letters. It takes a second. There's also a link in the description, I think, about, I have a course, a free online course about how to lobby for these changes at various times. And let's just pull up the 50 million one. So I'll pop that in. So this is a free course. It says buy, but it's free. And when you go in, I'll update you whenever there's a chance to like lobby the legislators or do anything to fund more grants. Then you can do that. Or if you don't like the grant, you could lobby for not funding it or lobby for change, whatever. Ashoka, thanks for making these sessions. Yeah, I'm happy to. I love it. This is an easy way to kick off Wednesday. It's all up here. I've got this huge list of videos I'm supposed to make, because there's this like $85,000 forgivable loan in Napa. There's this $40,000 grant portal reopening for like a minute, or apparently not reopening. Who knows? There's so many different things going on right now in the news. A lot of personnel changes, like that. Just after announcing that Dwell Abodu collaboration, the CEO of Dwell has stepped away from Dwell. A lot of my favorite people at Abodu seem to have switched around, so I'm kind of tracking down what are you doing. Lots of personnel changes in the ADU world. Lots of news. I didn't know there'd be a news cycle, and I didn't know people would be interested in it. So I'm happy you are. Another question came in on TikTok. Yeah. Tony, what state grant program do you run? I like that TikTok randomly has some more state grant program runners in it. Do the new rules on ADUs supersede local water restrictions or construction moratoriums? This is complicated. So water is a reason that a local agency can say no to development, but within reason. So um, this isn't legal advice. You should always kind of weigh what the water agency or the city or the local agency is saying about water versus what they're saying about housing in general. And there's a lot of different legal avenues you might pursue. One time I had a client who was in a neighborhood that had a construction moratorium because of a water restriction, because there wasn't good plumbing infrastructure in that neighborhood. It was a really underfunded neighborhood. And so the city said, yeah, you can't build an ADU there. At the same time, the city had a housing element and a general plan from more than like 8 years before that said we're going to fix all the plumbing in this part of town. And so it is unreasonable, in my opinion, for that city to have promised 8 years ago that they were going to fix the infrastructure and the plumbing so that this part of the town could grow. And then 8 years later, they're still rejecting permits based on the fact that it doesn't have the right plumbing and infrastructure. And I told that homeowner, like, hey, here's a housing rights advocate, an attorney that does a lot of pro bono work. You should bring your situation to that real lawyer and say, hey, here's my housing element, my old one, here's the new one where they're still saying my neighborhood's going to grow a bunch, and actually at the same time they're denying permits because they've never built up the sewer or water infrastructure, and that's terrible, right? And so hopefully that person did go off to that attorney. A lot of the time I don't hear back if it's good news. Like you go away and with my advice and you're just like, oh, that's a good story if I never hear back. And if it goes poorly, you come back and you're like, that didn't work. And so, but I didn't hear back from them. So I'm hoping it worked. Lots more questions. Okay. Have you seen exceptions to setback when the lot next door is a flood control wash? I don't actually know what that means. Sorry. What's a flood control wash? I have seen, I have seen exceptions to setback for flood control in general, because if you're in a flood zone, you need an additional permit to build your ADU, and getting that permit can have a lot of conditions in it that maybe the ADU permit does not have. So I do see stuff like that where flood zones create extra hurdles that end up changing things that you would think are very set in stone, like setback. What is the website to check out the grant? Go to CalHFA. Just Google CalHFA ADU grant, and that's the real source of information. And then they have a list of all the entities, and you want to pick a couple entities. You could either talk to a lender about a construction loan, or you could go down to the regional nonprofits and entities. If there's a regional one for you, pick it. Also, SECEDA and HPP Cares are good everywhere in the state. So those are the ones that you can try. I bought a home with a nice cottage in my backyard, which has everything but no plumbing. Yeah. So you could go to the city and say, hey, what's the process for me to bring this existing guest house that doesn't have plumbing? So it's really just a detached accessory structure. I want to make that an ADU. I just want to bring plumbing back to it and put in a bathroom and a kitchen. How much is that what's the process going to be like? And they'll walk you through it at the city or the county if you're in an unincorporated county. Any chance to see short-term rental restrictions being lifted for ADUs? There's always a chance. But I'll say that the appetite for that is lower in our state legislature than anything else on the to-do list, right? Like short-term rental is politically controversial, whereas housing and long-term housing is not it's less controversial. So the lobbyists all want to reduce short-term rental restrictions, but the politicians are like, next, pass. So that's kind of the way I don't think we'll remove the short-term rental prohibition on ADUs in the next couple of years, for example. And I could tell you no legislation has been presented this year that I have seen that would remove short-term rental restrictions for ADUs. What is your advice on adding plumbing if it needs to be permitted? I can't give you advice for your specific situation, but in general, what I do is I say, what are you trying to do with the unit? If you are trying to house somebody, they need plumbing, and so you should create plumbing. You should get it permitted. If you are not trying to house somebody, if you are creating a crash pad for your friends or your family who stay maybe a week at a time, and it's not like a permanent dwelling, then do you need plumbing? That's a question for you. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Yeah, yeah. Tony's got good advice. Don't start an Airbnb if you can't carry the cost of a vacant unit. It's true. It's true. Check out Rob Built's channel on YouTube and TikTok. He's talking about the Airbnb apocalypse now. He was a big proponent of these sort of unconventional vacation rentals. Pamela says, everything is old where I live, at the sewer pipes, the electrical wires, and I've complained. I never hear from anyone. Oh, I'm sorry. So, Pamela, when you say that, do you mean in your home, or do you mean the infrastructure like in the city, in the street? Because if it's an infrastructure in the city, in the street thing, you can go to, what you need to do is get some of your neighbors together and go to city council. I know it's hard. It's always like in the middle of a workday too. But like what you need to do is pick somebody who has the time to go in the middle of the workday, and there's usually a period at the top of city council where you can comment on things that aren't on the agenda, and you just say, hey, this neighborhood needs new sewer pipes, it needs new power and utilities, it needs better internet providers, things like that, and we want this to be seriously addressed by the city, and we want it to be agendized. We want it to come up in front of the city council, and we want staff to report on how much it would cost, and we want the city council to think about when they would prioritize that development. And it's a slow process, but that's what that public comment is for. And people don't really go to public hearings a lot in smaller cities and small towns. So you can make a big impact by showing up and asking for it. And that just starts the ball rolling. And then if somebody decides not to make the investment, then you come back the next session and you go, hey, why aren't we investing in this? And you start comparing other things that the city is spending money on, and you go, why are we spending money on this when we haven't even done clean pipes, clean water for our citizens? Yeah. If you're in a bigger city, that can be more problematic at city council. You might start with a division like the water agency, or yeah, it depends on where you live. We got people calling Cecilia, leaving a message. Nice. Hey, Will. Yeah, this is a California grant. This is by the state of California, administered by CalHFA. I think I said that in the video description and the title, but I'm not sure. Sorry. If you know about any grant programs in other places, I'll talk about those too. Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are having high call volume. Okay. Well, I think that might be everything for today. Let's just. It doesn't look like there's going to be any other funding situation. Let me end the TikTok. Thank you guys very much for being here. It's awesome chatting. Thanks for all the likes, and thanks for all the questions. I'm going to pop out of TikTok because I need to use my phone as a phone. But it was really awesome talking to all y'all. Okay. And now I am going to just check with somebody. Okay, so I'm texting people just to see if they can tell me when the grant portal is officially closed again, because otherwise I don't really know how to know. I will take a moment to gloat, which is I think I keep doing these updates because I want people to have good information about the grant. And uh, what's really disappointing is that people pop into the comments a lot, and you'll see it in a lot of the videos. People pop into the comments and say the grant money is gone. You don't know what you're talking about. You should delete this. It's never coming back. I called and they said it's never coming back, and they never say who they are, and they said it's never coming back. And this is a perfect example. It's just not accurate. And the grant portal, I assume people will who are in the funnel right now, out of the first 100 million, a large number will decide not to use the grant, or they will be disqualified for some reason. And then those grants will be reawarded in programs like today. So I assume that will happen multiple times over the next year in small batches like this. And so get in the line now. Don't assume that it's never coming back because some stranger on the internet said it. I This is proof today that sometimes the portal reopens and they reassign some grants. Furthermore, nobody knows what is going to happen between the money that's already been budgeted by the legislators, the proposed rebudget by the governor, which takes months. It's a very fluid process. No lobbyist I've spoken to thinks it's a finished thing. And 50 million is like a rounding error in the state budget. And furthermore, even if it doesn't come back this year, it's crazy to assume we know what's going to happen in 2024. And let's say you start building an ADU today, or start planning an ADU today. You go through the process, you get the plans and permits, and you start building maybe 3 months from now. You might not be finished in 2024. So let's assume that the grant does come back in 2024 and we skip 2023. If it's the same terms as the last time, you might still be eligible for that grant when it reopens, if it's similar to the way it worked before. You might also not be eligible, right? So we just don't know. Anybody who claims to know is overstating or is overly confident in their opinion. And when I see people pop into the comments and act like authorities, I just gotta say, like, I spent a lot of time on this stuff, and I know that this is a fight between multiple political entities, or maybe a collaboration between multiple political entities. So it changes. It changes over time. Anything can happen, and actually, you could be a big part of it by lobbying and by activating. So don't believe what you read online from random comments. Look for sources of authority that you trust and that have been accurate over time. What is a non-recurring construction cost? I understand that the pre-development, but not the non-recurring. David, is this a non-recurring closing cost? Because I think that the phrasing I've seen in the PDFs from memory is non-recurring closing cost, which I'll talk about what that is. And if it does say non-recurring construction cost somewhere, send me a link so I can read the context. A non-recurring closing cost is a one-time fee at the closing and origination of the loan, I think. So the classic example is buying down the interest on the loan. So let's say you only had $10,000 in pre-development costs, but then you got to the closing day, you could use the remainder of your grant to buy down to pay for the origination fees, for one, the closing fees, and to buy down points. You could not use the grant to pay for recurring costs like interest payments over time or whatever. I don't know if that's a good example. Does that make sense? If it says non-recurring construction costs somewhere, I'm less familiar with that. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps. Everybody coffeeing up or teeing up or watering or whatever you drink in the morning. Is the grant for refi or HELOCs? So currently, the grant is paused, but if you can get through SECEDA or HPB Cares, you can use any finance vehicle you want with those two programs, is my understanding. So I have lots of clients who went through with HELOCs, with second position loans. Very few took refis over the past 6 or 7 months for obvious reasons. And so that's why most people don't like the construction loan products that are offered by the lending entities. A lot of them require first position and therefore require refinancing. Some of them offer second position construction loans that you may or may not qualify for. And I guess that's a long way to say CalHFA requirements don't require a specific lending type. They just require that there is a fund control account to make sure we finish the project and that there is some organized way to make sure that the project is being done and that the money is going to the right things. The individual entities then each have their own rules. So a lot of the lenders will say you have to use our construction loan, and it does require a refi. Some of them will say we have a construction loan, but it takes a second position. It does not require a refi. None of them offer HELOCs that qualify for the grant, to my knowledge. In SECEDA and HPB Cares, you can use a HELOC from outside of the program, or you can just bring cash, or anything. Yeah. Okay. So good. I'm glad we got the non-recurring closing cost thing. You're building an ADU with cash. Is the grant usable? There's a lot of variables to check, but yeah, if you go through HPB Cares or SECEDA, both of those entities have in the past allowed people to apply with cash. Yep. You might still want to check and make sure that that's the right decision because there can be impacts, but learn about the program, talk to those entities directly. Hey, Burin. Wow, I'm glad you asked. What's a good resource to learn about ADUs? This channel. I think the best thing for on the ground contractors like you is there's an HCD workbook about accessory dwelling units. Let me pull it up real fast. This handbook is like the best because it's the official word from the state agency that kind of enforces these rules or helps local agencies interpret them. It's long, but you can kind of skim it and know what subjects are covered. And then as a builder on the ground, you go to the jurisdictions where you work and you talk to the planning department about the process for ADUs there. Because the locals are more important than the state rules in a lot. Like when the rubber hits the road, the building inspector matters more than like some rule in the CBC, right? And then you find out what the locals say you can do at the planning department and building department. If they ever say something that blatantly defies what's in the handbook, bring them the handbook and go like, I read this in the state handbook. Can we reconcile? Like, what can you help me understand the difference here? And a lot of the time they'll read the handbook and they go, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, let's change. Or they'll talk to their boss or whatever. If things get real bad, you can always use the HCD to ask for technical assistance and then get somebody from the HCD to consult with the city about their interpretation. But between that handbook and then whatever documents existed, the local planning and building departments, that's all you really need. Now, there's benefits to following a channel like this one because like this handbook came out in July 2022. A bunch of new rules went into effect in January this year. You would only know those if you're paying attention to this stuff. I made a video about it back in September last year. So everybody who watches this channel knows like the stuff before it happens coming down the pipe. So or this grant, for example, $40,000 grant. If you were a follower of the channel that I've been talking about the grant since 2021. So a lot of people got it thanks to watching the channel. So it's best place to start is that handbook. Then I would subscribe to channels you trust on YouTube if you're a YouTuber, or if you want. Oh, I'm so silly. Of course, you're a builder. You should join the Casita Coalition. It is a very good professional trade group. And yeah, if you're serious about building ADUs, then check out the Casita Coalition. It's great for trade. We have monthly webinars where I'm there, like other people are. We kind of catch each other up. I find out about a lot of stuff first through the Casita Coalition or some of the IMB groups I belong to. So hopefully that helps. Burn Construction. Juan Carlos, thank you. I'm glad you like the info on the channel. All right, I haven't heard back from anybody about the portal closing, but honestly, it's been 50 minutes. I think the message here is the portal opened for such a small number of awards. It looks like they gave those awards just to the people who are already on their wait list, which says to me, get on the wait list today because there might be more openings in the future. And don't believe when people tell you that they know the future of this grant, because nobody knew until the 22nd last week that the portal was even going to reopen. It just suddenly was announced. So don't believe the hype. Thank you all for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and we're going to put a video recommendation generated by YouTube up in the up here. So you just watch that next. Yeah. Ahsoka. Oh, more questions. Where's the link to the waitlist? Each entity has its own process. So go to Casita or HPP Cares. Those links are in the description, in the video description below. Their websites will inform you how to apply through their entity. And I don't. It's honestly, I tried, and it's not super clear on some of the websites, but others are very clear. So just go explore. Pick up the phone, probably not today, but tomorrow they'll probably be less busy, and figure out how you can apply that way. Hope that makes sense. All right. Thank you all. Thank you. We're going to put a video description. We're going to put a video here. You could go watch what YouTube recommends, and we're going to put a playlist about the $40,000 ADU grant over here. And next week, hopefully, I'll put a video out about this $85,000 forgivable loan in Napa County. Let's build some housing.